All right, so estate planning is the sexy phrase for it is generational wealth. So if you hear generational wealth, that's what estate planning is. Your estate is everything that's left once we pass, right? That's our estate. Fun fact, 70% of families lose their wealth by the second generation. So we're the first generation and our kids is the second. And then of those that make it, 90% lose it by the third generation, which is crazy. So that's like our kid's kid, which is, the thought is who we have to become to get the money. Right. Like, that's ultimately what it is. That's how I describe to people. People are always like, Dre, what are you talking about money? I don't like talking about money. But it's also a measure of who you had to become to get the money. That if I ask you right now, hey, how to create a $50,000 a year life, you'd probably say, yeah, maybe go to college or get a job. If I ask you how to make a $200,000 a year life, you might maybe go to law school or med school. But if I say, how do you create $1 million a year life, less people can answer that question. Right. And so what you see is the people who win the lottery, it says, most of them file for bankruptcy by what year?
5, right?
It's like 3 to 5.
That's crazy.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because all they knew how to do was create a $50,000 a year life. So you gave them the money and nothing's changed. So they just go back to what they know. Right. And I talk to people all the time like that. Like I won't, you gotta run out of time telling stories, but it'll be like, hey, we gotta invest this way. They're like, no, I want to invest this way. And I'm like, that's not gonna work. We're not gonna keep up with inflation. No, but I saw something. I'm like, oh, we're talking about, okay, I don't know if they know. I don't know if they know. I can't make it. But I see it all the time that the mindset holds us or helps us. And so I always talk about money because of who we have to become to get it and who you got to teach your kids to become to keep it. And who they have to teach their kids to become to keep it. Because what generally what happens is who you became, you ground, you made it, your kids saw you, so they respected the hustle. Even though they don't know how to do it, they don't want to mess it up. Right. But the third generation never knew poverty, they never knew the grind, and so they just spend it and they have no idea how to make it back. Wow. Another way I've heard it described is if you took all the money in the world and you put it up in one spot and you divide it amongst everybody, in 10 years it gets back in the hands of the people it started with. Because they know how to make the money. Wow. Some people know how to spend it, some people know how to make it. Right? So kind of it is what it is. So I am a real financial planner, so I do have to give you the disclaimer. I don't just play one on TV. There's a lot of people out there talking, but I'm Obsidian Wisdom is a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida. I am a fiduciary advisor. All it means is that when I give advice to you specifically, that is financial advice, and this isn't that. I'm going to give you great ideas, but without knowing you and your exact situation, you should not take it as I'm telling you to do this, because I don't know. You may have crazy things going on. Right, it'd be like going to the car dealership and they're like, man, you're gonna love this Honda Accord. It has a 4-star safety rating, it's 30 miles a gallon. You can be like, man, how do you know? Like, yeah, it's a great car, but how do you know it's for me? I got 8 kids, I need a bus. I got low back problems, I want something higher like a truck. Like, you don't know. And so that's all that we're really saying. So a man with wisdom meets a man with money. And the man with the wisdom leads with the money, and the man with the money leads with the wisdom. Right? Like, that's real time. Yeah, it's like my favorite thing. I always implement it. And so if you think of it, it's kind of like saying, if you've ever in your life, which I know I have you ever said, if I knew then what I knew now? I've said it. Have you said it? I've said it all the time. That's all we say. Right. That's all we saying. We saying wisdom levels you up, and wisdom is experience. And we'll go into that a little bit more. So there's 3 things that we'll cover today. That's good. Why avoiding this one mistake can save your family from years of stress and conflict. The 3 must-have tools every man needs to protect his family and his future. And the simple ways to transfer your values, vision, and voice to the next generation. Right, so those are going to be the 3 things that we cover. That's how we're going to measure success today. Naturally, you're going to want to know, hey, what qualifies Ray to talk about this? Of course. So I have written the Retirement Wisdom. I have worked for 3 of the largest financial firms in the U.S. I've worked for Deutsche Bank.
That's your book?
Yep. It's on Amazon right now. Okay. So I worked for Deutsche Bank, I worked for Wells Fargo, and I worked for New York Life. Right. I worked for 3 Fortune 50 banks before stepping out on my own. I do workshops, presentations, seminars. I do all that jazz. Right. So I'm just simply saying I'm qualified to talk to you about it. I remember when I retired from corporate America, I was crushing it. I was doing great. I had my 4 rock star daughters. I was living my best life. My wife, we were doing our thing. The only issue was I was exhausted. I was grinding. I mean, I'd wake up early, I'd go to bed late because I was just grinding. I'm a grinder just naturally. And quality time for me when my kids was sleeping. Hey, you want to take a nap together? That was quality time, right? That's me sitting in a Minnie Mouse chair while they were putting on the show for me. Right? I mean, I'm like overweight and exhausted. You probably like about the same way. Nah, don't do that to me. Like, don't do that to me. So I ended up, my thought was, all right, I got a great plan. All I'm going to do is I'm going to quit work, start a business, and I'll make enough money before my 401k empties. That was the plan. And my wife was like, sure, let's see what happens. God bless her. She's so amazing. And it didn't work. And so the best year of my life and the worst year of my life was that first year.
Wow.
Best year, I was able to spend so much more quality time with my kids. That's me homeschooling them.
That's cool.
Like, it was so cool. It was a great time. This was our first home, which we had to sell. Because I did not figure it out quick enough. We had to sell the house. And I was working out all day and all night, and I was making less money than I was, and that really sucked. So this is, if you ever ask for groceries to be delivered, they have to take a picture. So this is when I worked for Shipt, when I was trying to figure out how to get the business working. And you had to take pictures of the receipt and send it to them to get your money. You have to prove that you bought the groceries. Right, so I was homeschooling the girls, I was working in the business, and then I was working at night, because I was like, man, I just lost the house, I gotta figure this out. And then somewhere at the bottom, like all things.
That's my boy right there.
Yeah. You know, when you're feeling bad, you gotta listen to somebody help you uplift you.
Yes, sir.
And so Jim Rome ended up being the person I found.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's it, man.
So this was my guy. And so he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better.
That's it.
Yes,
Don't
that's
wish
it.
for less problems, wish for more skills.
That's Jim.
That's it,
Don't
man.
wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom.
Yeah.
And at that point, I remembered I love wisdom, right? The company's name is Obsidian Wisdom. I'm someone who loves wisdom. I remember as a kid
That's my boy.
with King Solomon, reading it as a kid, and I remember thinking, this man just broke the rule of the genie, right? Because the genie, right, I was thinking of God as a kid as a genie. Like, you can only ask for one wish. You can't ask for more wishes. And he asked for the cheat code of more wishes.
Right.
By asking for wisdom, because he could ask for money, but wisdom gave him the money.
Right.
He could ask for fame, but wisdom gave him the fame. He could ask for success, but wisdom gave him the success too. And I remember as a kid being like, if I ever see a genie, I'm asking for wisdom. I remember thinking that. And so when I heard Jim say that, I was like, that's right, Dre. And so I was like, let me go back and reread Solomon. So I went back and reread him. And I recognized that as an adult, what he said was, I have an established kingdom and I'm a new king. They don't need a new king. I need to be as wise and established as my kingdom. So when I read it, I was like, oh, he asked for the experience of a king who'd been on the throne for 50 years. And he hadn't been on the throne for 50 seconds. And that's what he got. If I knew back then what I know now, he got that. Right. So then I was like, oh snap, what if I find people who have done things and I just do what they did?
That's right.
And then I'm just gonna take their wisdom. So everybody, that's what people want. Listen to your elderly people. When they give you wisdom, listen. Just sit down and be like, all right, let's do this.
Yes.
And so I started saying, all right, let me seek wisdom. And I said, well, let me apply it. Let me define it. That's just the way my mind works. I said, so wisdom is the ability to apply your knowledge and understanding in an effective way to consistently, underline consistently, produce the results that you desire. What's your favorite thing that grandma makes?
Banana
pudding. Yeah.
You gotta pick one. Banana
Yes,
pudding?
sir.
Greens.
Yes. That's mine too.
All right.
Doobie.
What'd you say?
Doobie.
Doobie? You gonna pick one now?
Dressing.
Dressing? Okay. Has grandma ever given you the recipe?
Yep. I had to
Yes.
be the one to help.
Yeah.
Did it taste right when you first made it?
I was always the one watch grandma cook.
Okay, you watched grandma do it?
And so I picked up
You
everything.
picked up the game?
Yeah.
It don't taste like grandma.
It don't.
Nah.
It don't.
Nah.
It
Yes,
don't.
it
It don't.
do.
So my grandma made peanut butter cookies. So what I'm saying is knowledge is like getting the recipe. Like, hey, here you go. And most people stop at knowledge. That's where we mess up. We read a book, we watch a video,
Right.
do a podcast.
Come on.
But to gain understanding, you have to take action on it. You got to try it. And you're going to mess up. But you got to keep trying.
Right.
Wisdom is when you try it so many times and you made so many mistakes, at some point you can consistently get the result that you want
Wow.
consistently. So the first time grandma gave the peanut butter cookies, I made it and I was like, it tastes like peanut butter cookies. I was like, here's grandma. And she was like, I was like, grandma, what's the secret ingredient? She was like, isn't that in love? Like, grandma, you lying to me. Stop lying to me, grandma.
All you gotta do, baby.
God is listening. And she's like, give me the recipe. All right, grandma, cool. I understand. And then at some point, you know, if you ever cook some on a recipe and then you realize that your oven worked a little bit quicker than the recipe, like it's not burning.
Yep.
So then you start getting an understanding, like, okay, I need to mix the liquids separate over here and the dries over here. My oven is different than grandma. She got an old oven.
Yep.
So I need to do mine 5 minutes less, or at least 50 degrees lower.
Yep.
You start putting these little things together. That's understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then you finally get to the next level where you realize grandma uses one particular kind of butter. You know what I'm saying? Like, you like grandma, because she wasn't lying. That's just how she made it.
Right.
Because she was trialing and erroring.
Right.
And she was like, well, that's how I always make it. She didn't tell me that's the brand, but she didn't know that brand mattered. She was like, I use butter, honey. I'm like, no, grandma, your butter was different. And I did. Then you start gaining the wisdom. You do it exactly that way. So there's lots of examples of us being able to pull wisdom. Y'all watch football?
No.
Y'all know the Texas quarterback Arch Manning?
Yes, sir.
He about to be the fourth Manning first-round quarterback.
Wow.
Can you not tell me that they don't know how to make a first-round quarterback?
Right.
You can't tell me they don't have the wisdom?
Right.
Now, you may not like the way Will Smith runs his house, but he got his kids in movies. He got his kids making music and songs. He got the kids all over the place. You can't tell me he don't know the process to get someone in Hollywood?
Right.
Denzel Washington's kid was in the movie Tent. I just saw him. You can't tell me Denzel don't know how to get someone in a movie?
Right.
What am I saying? I'm saying that it's all around us. When we talk about respecting God, right? The Bible says, right, fear of the Lord. It doesn't mean right to be scared. It means to respect Him. What does it mean to respect God? It means to acknowledge that He designed everything in a mathematically sound way. That if you just did exactly what someone else did, you would get the same result because He designed it that way. That's why He was so upset with Job. He was like, bro, do you not know what I did with the design? You don't ask me some questions sideways, right? So we're so mathematically sound that if we were an inch closer to the sun, we'd burn. If we were an inch further from the sun, we'd freeze. That plants breathe out oxygen for us to live, and we breathe out carbon dioxide for them to live. So mathematically sound.
Wow.
So when Jim said that, all this came back, and I was like, oh snap, I'm gonna start figuring stuff out.
Right.
And so I did. I started reading everything, and the list is even longer. And then my life changed, and I was happy, and I was awake. I'm running Spartan races. I'm living it. And so we're gonna go through these today. So I call it wisdom weaving. It's the idea that I'm gonna take pieces of different people's lives, and I'm gonna do what they did to get the result, recognizing I may not want all of their life.
That's good.
I may like Kobe's work ethic, but I didn't like his time with his family. I felt like maybe he didn't do it. I may have liked Will Smith's career, but I didn't like his family.
Right.
I may have liked Jim Rome's speaking ability,
Right.
but I may not have liked the fact that he did multi-level marketing, right? Like it could be anything.
Right.
It's just recognizing that we don't have to take everything, but we can take the things that work for us.
Come on.
And then we weave it to make our unique life.
You know,
All right, so
make it fit your plan.
that's what I'm saying. So these are so I'm going to give you 7 dangers on each one, and it's just to really give you some ideas to help you with the questions. So when you're talking about making the plan, the most important thing about that is if you don't make the plan, the government will. That's the most important thing. And how well do you feel the government does? At anything, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
just anything.
You gotta be a part of that clique.
Yeah.
For it to benefit you.
So if the state decides who gets everything, even your children.
Wow.
And you may think I like my mom more. You may think the wife's mom better. You may think neither of them and my sister. But if you don't say nothing, then it's just whoever's at court.
Right.
And then the judge decides. So you want to be able to set that up. Any family disputes over things like, nah, Dad really wanted me to have the house. And he trusted me to then divvy it out, Judge. And they're like, no. He wanted us to sell the house, right? You don't want the family arguing. Probate court, if you've ever been in front of a judge is like $300 to $500 an hour, and it takes a super long time. It's a lot of money wasted in probate court. Like a lot of money. Because the way they have to do it and why it's delayed is they have to allow like 6 months for anyone who wants to say they have a claim to say. Okay. So when Dre dies, the judge might be like, hey, look, I'm going to give like a 6-month window. If you know or related to Dre, come on up. And depending on how much money Dre has is how many people come up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got to listen to every single person that comes up. And someone has to pay the judge to listen to every single person. And then they're going to say, I'm the cousin, I'm the lost child, I'm all this stuff. And the judge has to listen to all this stuff. And they get paid for all of it. And you hope the judge recognizes who's lying and who's not, but you don't know. So Prince, and all these are going to be public records. That's the other thing, probate is a public record, because if you go to a court, it's a public record. And so as a result, I'm going to use a bunch of celebrities because they're all public records.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the estate plan in place. If you put it in a trust, it's private. That's where the Rothschilds put their stuff. That's why we don't know what they do. We assume they have a lot of money. We don't know, but we're confident they have a lot of money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're confident, but we don't know. Versus Prince, we know. It was in the record. So he died 2016, did not have a will or anything. $156 million, no kids, 6 siblings, and it took many years of them going back and forth fighting over it. That's the kind of stuff that breaks your family up. You know, just fighting in court over that. If you asked him, I'm sure he would probably be like, no, if I could go back, I would have done it in a way that kept my family from fighting. They were fighting so long and it got so out of control that 2 of the family members sold their future estate to a record label, like to a separate business. So now it's 4 siblings and 1 company fighting over the estate.
Those probably 2 he didn't want to get into.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so they took 6 years, they closed it, then 2 of the siblings said, we don't think it went right, and they reopened it. Right, you know Anna Nicole Smith?
Yeah.
That was like decades. Decades. And he had a lot of stuff, but he left it all to her, and the family was like, heck no. This stuff, I'm going to go through how to set it up where that won't even happen, where they can't even argue over it. But not having anything is going to be like the last thing you want to do. And so we already talked about a lot of these things, right? The state will decide, and then your kids could end up with anyone, and then your family could spend months fighting in the court, and then you don't have anyone that can legally step in. If you don't have an appointed attorney, CPA, financial planner, whoever you want to put kind of in charge, then the government is just going to do what is compliant. So compliant versus ethical. Compliant is like, hey, I will do what keeps me from going to jail. Ethical is I'm going to try to do what I believe is right by this person. And that's just not always the case. Heath Ledger's another example of that. So he had a will, and it's important that you all know you can't just make the will and be like, Dre told me to make a will, boom, I did it, set it and forget it. No, life happens, your will, you should be updated. So Heath made one, it was like 5 years old, but he had a daughter that was 2. He didn't update it when his daughter was born. So when he passed, everything went to his parents and his sisters. Now this one worked out because they gave it to the girl.
Right.
So they gave it to the girl. But I have another example where they didn't give it to the people, right? So you don't know. So ideally, you'll update it. If you get divorced, if you have another kid, if you adopt somebody, if somebody passes, if you start a business or sell a business, you should go back and update your will with whatever the new updated information is. And then for this one, the verse I have for you is Luke 12:42. And it says, and the Lord said, who then is that faithful and wise steward, whom his master will make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of food in due season? Right, so who are you going to put in charge of everything? Who is that person that's going to be giving out the portion? Because it's about just having a plan, right? It's not about the money. A lot of times I'm like, boom, I'm successful, I got the money, but it's about having the plan. And the mark of wisdom is having a plan, taking care, so we don't leave our kids with chaos, but a blessing. Because we don't want our family to be ruined because of the way we designed the estate. Right? We just don't want that. I don't think any of us want that. So then naturally that leads you to, well, then Dre, what should I have? I'm glad that you asked. And so we'll talk about it. So you should have a will, and we'll talk about some parts of setting that up. Outdated documents, we just went over an example of that. Power of attorney is good. A healthcare directive, those are going to be the main 3 that we talk about. And then we're going to just talk about some of the risks of having a generic plan. And then we'll close with the 3rd section, we'll talk about a trust. And then just any missing beneficiaries. So that's how we'll end it up.
Question.
Yes, always.
I might be a question. Will. How you going to get the will?
Sure.
Online, I mean, what?
So you can. It depends how messy you feel your family is.
Yeah.
If you feel your family is not going to say anything, you can write it on a piece of paper, sign it with 2 witnesses and a notary, and you could be good.
Was that?
You right?
You can have chat write it, but you still want to sign it with a notary and 2 witnesses.
Right.
The issue that you run into if you don't have an actual attorney is the idea of someone being like, oh, Dad wrote another will. This is his updated will. They went on chat too.
I mean, got real thing. My daddy gave me this.
Right, like, oh, they didn't know. They stopped visiting Dad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the judge is like, I don't know. Did you stop? He's like, no, I saw Dad last week. But now we're having this discussion. So do they throw out both wills, or do they just throw out one of the wills? And so it's nice. It's nice to at least make it with a lawyer, so that way it's like established that you have a lawyer. Even if you just pay them once, whatever, for their time, maybe like $1,000. But you could start with one that just has a notary and signed by a witness, 2 people. But you may want to just have established a relationship where it's like, all right, can we ask the lawyer?
How strong are the wills? How strong are the wills?
It depends on the judge, just like all things, right? You see us going to courts all the time in the U.S. even right now, and depending on the judge whether they're going to lean one way or another. Is it possible that the judge just wants to be compliant? So the judge, if they can prove it's your will, then the judge is going to execute that will.
Like, folks, I say that because if I let you.
No, you're fine.
If you married, I'm just hypothetically, right? Because I love my wife.
Right.
I'm married, and I will my car to my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife said, no, I'm keeping the car. So,
No, the will that would go to the brother.
Okay.
As long as the will is seen as authorized. Now they could fight over, and that's the whole Anna and Nicole Smith thing. But most of the time, the judges is trying their best to give your final wishes. Because all probate is a freezing of the assets because you passed, and then they're trying to figure out who to rewrite the assets in the new name of.
Okay.
That's all probate process is.
Okay.
So for example, you have a 401k and it already has a beneficiary as your wife, that won't even go into probate because it already is written into their name.
Right.
But if you have a car, the judge is going to try to figure out who's supposed to get the car.
Right.
So that's where the judge is going to do their best. So if you have a will, they'll try to do it. Could your wife argue that you were drunk or under the influence? Yes. So that's where it comes out. That's what I say. How messy is your family? So Michael Jackson, unfortunately, he did a great thing. He set up a trust, but he didn't fund it. And so what I'm saying is if you start a business right now, right? So whatever, Dre LLC, does that put money in the bank account? No. You still got to go put the money in the account. So your business, you could technically buy a car in the business's name, but you got to sign it in the business's name. You could open up a bank account in the business's name, but you got to sign it in the business's name. And so Michael Jackson set up the trust, but he didn't sign anything in the trust name. And so the trust didn't get funded. So it's an unfunded trust. It's a little bit more common than you would think. But the idea is you can either set up a will, and in the will it says, my only beneficiary is Dre Trust. And then boom, trust gets everything, and then the rules of the trust will divvy it out. Or you can just start passing it on. You can be like, hey, I have a business. My business is worth $1 million right now. I think it's going to be worth $50 million later. I don't want to pay a death tax. I'm going to give it to my kids now. So you put it in the trust, and then the trust can give it to the kid. And we'll go into some more trust strategies because there's a gazillion ways to design it. If you had an odd number of kids, for example, let's say you had 3 kids, and you had a business, and 2 of them wanted to sell it, and 1 wanted to keep it. Normally, the 2 that would want to sell it outvoted your 1 kid, and you're sad because it's your business, you want generational wealth. But if you put the business in the trust, then the trust can be designed where it pays. So let's say your business is worth $1 million. So it pays kid number 1 $333,000 from the income of the business over the next 5 years. Pay kid number 2 $333,000 over the income from the business. And once that is done, the trust gives the business to your 3rd kid. So your kids are fine. They got the value that they were promised.
Right.
They wanted to sell it. They got $333,000. Your kid who wanted to keep it is fine. They got a business. The only way you could do that, outside of them actually agreeing, which is not as common because they're like, I don't want to wait 5 years. I want my money now.
Right.
Would be to put it in a trust. Put the business in a trust. Allow the business to pay the income to the kids, and then the other kid can get it. You can design it with anyone like that. It's very common, and I'll show you on the 3rd one. Husbands do that with their wives a lot because either twofold is one is my wife is too old because I died, so we're both old, and I don't want her to be taken advantage of. 2, I don't trust her. Right? I mean, I'm dead. I think she's gonna marry the pool boy. She gonna give the pool boy all the assets. You could design the trust basically the same idea. You put all the assets in the trust. It pays your wife whatever. You pay her $10,000 a month. It does not matter. But when she passes, it then goes to your kids. She doesn't actually control the assets. She doesn't get to decide the pool boy gets it. She just gets the income from it. which is fine. Most wives are like, that's fine,
Right.
and then your kids are happy,
Right.
and that's also good for blended families. However you want to decide it, because you want to make sure all your kids are kind of okay. So maybe give someone the money, give someone the asset. It gives you the ability. Otherwise, you may end up where a group of your kids are being left out, or the wife rewrites everything once you pass, and she gives it to the pool boy, and she was taken advantage of, or she just loves him. Who knows? But you didn't want that
It
either.
sounds like you word that trust in kind of way you want. It's real.
Right.
It's real.
You can.
It's real creative. You can do what.
You
If
can.
she remarry, you like everything stops, that type of thing.
You can, and then they don't. They still live together, but
Yeah.
they don't remarry.
That's smart.
It's
I
true.
like that.
And then that trust, if it's an irrevocable
Right.
trust, then
Right.
you can't change it, right?
Right, irrevocable, you can't change it. So think of an irrevocable trust like your HOA. So your HOA, you pay them whatever, $100 a year. The HOA has bylaws, they have rules that they're governed by. They can pay for grass to be mowed, they can pay for a house to be painted. They can't buy a Porsche because there's rules on how they can spend it. But that's how an irrevocable trust is. You set up a trust, you set up the rules on how it can be spent. You don't have the ability to undo it, but yes, yeah, it's done. And so once you die, even your revocable trust, which is a living trust, turns into irrevocable. And so the government does that, and that's a good thing because you don't want to change anything. So the three documents that you normally want to have is the will. It just decides who gets what and raises your kids. And then you should obviously tell the person so that they know and are ready to raise your kids. Give them a letter that just talks about things your kids like and stuff like that. You have a durable power of attorney, just as a reminder. A durable power of attorney does not work when you die. A lot of people think that it works when you die. No, it just is you're giving the right to someone else to make decisions on your behalf. You can make a health power of attorney, you can make a financial power of attorney, and they can pay your bills, or you can make a durable power of attorney, which generally is the best one, and they're able to make all decisions on your life.
What's the point of having that if they can't do it when you die?
Because they want to do it while you're alive. I mean, that first of all, that is an excellent question. So the way you would think of it is, from a financial planner standpoint, let's say you got a durable power of attorney on your dad, like right now. So maybe we update it every 5 years, just like, hey, yeah, I still want my son to make these decisions for me. But then the day that he is mentally incapacitated, where I can see that he's not as sharp as he was, not that he's all the way gone, but I would like to be able to talk to someone, like, hey, have you talked to your dad lately? He wants to do some things that I don't know if he would normally want to do that. If I have this, we can actually make decisions for him. But if I don't have this, I can only refer him to a government agency, but anything like that I can't. Or I can be like, hey, you're being taken advantage of. I could call someone and be like, okay, are you okay with this that your dad just asked me to do? And it could be anything. You can do it with your spouse, you can do it with anybody. That's the benefit of it being alive. If you got in a car accident and you were like knocked out and then they need to pay your bills, they can. They can call up the creditor and be like, hey, I'm paying the bill. I'm like, you're not authorized. Yes, I am. I have my durable power of attorney. I can pay the bill for him. Or I can cancel it. I'm canceling this cable. And they're like, you can't do that. Yes, I can. I have my durable power of attorney.
Who gives you authority to do that? Does he have to sign for you? He or she have to sign for you to have durable power of attorney?
Yes, yes. So this is another legal document that you would make and then sign it with witnesses, the same vibe. Same vibe. And then the healthcare directive is just sort of like specifically on healthcare, is just the idea that families do have weird feelings about life support and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, some people want to be on it for 50 years, some people want to be on it for 50 seconds. But nobody wants to be the person that says turn it off.
Right, let me go home.
So the idea, even if you promise them, you're like, hey, I'm telling you right now, turn the thing off. They still would be like,
Right.
is he gonna wake up?
Right.
Like, you just don't want them to have that on them, especially if the siblings are gonna blame them.
Right.
So it could be anything. Some people have religious things about blood transfusions. So it could be in there, hey, no blood transfusion. Donate organs, anything you're allergic to, surgery, life support, your favorite music to listen to while you're asleep. I don't know. You can put it all in there. Give one to your doctor, give it to your family. Because what happens is you get in a car accident, they're going to call your brother and be like, hey, we want to have a surgery. And then you're going to be like, what? And then, but they got it. Yeah. Surgery's cool. Yeah. Dre and I talked about it. He's okay with surgery. But hey, life support, what do you think? Dre said no life support. So, he said he wanted to donate his organs to blah, blah, blah. Right? You can do all that inside your healthcare directive. These are just things that you want to have set up so that way when life happens and kind of doesn't go our way, there's someone that can already be ready.
Right.
So it's already set up. My kids know where to go. Yep. They know where the money's at. All that stuff. Everything's set up. These are the three. If you have these up, you'll be above 90% of people. And you'll be in a really good spot.
Yep.
You really will. Any questions on these three?
We'll talk about that.
All right.
Healthcare director.
So this is our friend Barry White. So Barry was not as lucky as Heath Ledger. When he passed, he left everything in his ex-wife's name.
Oh,
Mm.
that hurt.
He didn't take good care of her.
No. So he had a longtime girlfriend, but he never put anything in her name. And so the ex-wife, middle fingers, gave nothing to the
Ex-wife though.
agreed, but she gave nothing to the 9 kids either.
But how to go to the ex-wife? To the ex-wife.
Because the ex-wife was on the will.
The will.
You should
Black and white say,
fight that. Can you fight that?
You try to find
Yeah,
it.
but it'd be a waste of money. See, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
that black and white.
The wife
say,
already has. So remember, the government considers you and your spouse one person,
Yeah.
right? So like you're already considered one person. So all she did is she went into court because obviously it's just that he said, she said, you dead, so they can't ask you. And I can tell you how it went. It was like this. It was like the girlfriend was like, look, I've been with him for 20 years. I've been taking care of him.
Right.
He wanted me to have him. Ex-wife was like,
We was
no,
working
we
it out.
divorced, but we were best friends. We went out every weekend for coffee, and we talked all the time. And he told me that even though we didn't work out, he wants me to be happy when he's gone. And the judge is gonna be like, what could you do?
Right.
What could you do?
Right.
You don't have anyone to say
Do
no.
the right thing, Judge. Do the right thing.
Thanks, Spike Lee.
Oh my God.
his last wishes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Man,
I just got cookie crumbles.
Legal binding
So the
document.
assumption with the 9 kids is that she
Document.
wasn't the parent of most of them, so maybe he was cheating on her. I don't know.
Right.
But she didn't give nothing to the 9
She
kids
didn't
either.
care.
She kept it all.
She said,
I don't know.
She gonna enjoy she living her best life right now, though.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
Barry White. Oh, yeah. She bought.
And she know the assets she's
But
still getting.
He know
I'm saying.
he had to know it though. He had it. I mean, he know
forgot.
it.
Yeah, he forgot. He clearly didn't think about it.
Nah,
Think
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
He didn't care. He had that new
He
chick.
off with the white
He
boy.
probably thought he had
both times.
Yeah.
A lot of times they think
He thought he had one, yeah.
That's it.
I tell people all the time that window, because I have conversations about, hey, look, you know what? You're divorced, you need to update some documents. Dre, I'm exhausted.
Right.
That was really tough on me.
Right.
I can't right now. Just give me some time. And then, I don't know, tomorrow's not promised.
Tomorrow's not promised.
But they just, I mean, that happens. You're just like, hey, look, dude, we got to do this right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
And they like, but most people are like, no.
Definitely. Go. Let me put that in there. Got to be intentional.
And so there are times where even people that get married, because you see it, people die on the honeymoon. I'll tell people when they get married all the time, and the day that y'all sign up on the house, I'll be like, y'all need to get enough life insurance to cover the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, Dre, that's gonna happen. I'm like, but if something did happen, one of the two of you would have to sell the house in that tough time.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for people to think about. But I've seen it enough where I'm just like, look, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news.
Right.
But it happens. You should get some life insurance right now if you want to keep the house, because you can only afford it with 2 more incomes. Right. Our verse for that one is 1 Timothy 5:8. But if anyone does not provide for their own, and especially for those of their household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. It's a reminder that providing or provisions is not just about the money. It really is. It's about the tools like wills and power of attorneys and trust that we're going to go into to make sure that they can exhale in that tough time. That's really the goal, because you think we talk to everybody, we think everybody's going to do the same thing, but we all deep down know, we've all heard enough stories that when people get in the courtroom, things are said that weren't expected. And so if you want to keep the family together, you do the best you can to set it up ahead of time. And so once you have the foundation, that leads us into the last section where we talk about the wealth, right? So we build on the wealth, we grow on the money, we figuring out life. So ultimately, what are we going to do to pass on our values, our visions, and our voice? So that's the 3 V's, I call it. So things that we'll talk about is the idea of our values dying with us. We don't want that. Family drifting apart. We don't want that. The inheritance feels like a curse. Maybe we didn't put them in tax-efficient assets, so they're just paying a bunch of taxes. We don't want that either. Guilt, resentment, or confusion because nobody knew. It'd be nice if we could have the conversation with the family. Hey, look, I'm leaving the house here. I'm leaving the cars here. So that way we can just get it out of the way now. And then any charity plans left behind, and then unprepared heirs, and then no family conversations. So we're going to go through that. So this one, 10? Yes, we're on time. So this is, fun fact, just happened. So I was super excited to add this to the slide. Allen Iverson just turned 50.
Yeah, I
this
remember.
year. Yeah,
He
saw
set
it.
up a trust for himself.
They did. They set him up an irrevocable trust. So it meant he couldn't access it. Yep. So revocable means I can change it if I want to. And we'll talk about the benefits of that, and then irrevocable. So Allen Iverson in his 20s was living La Vida Loca. So he had cars and houses and trips.
He got a nice house.
He had everything, right? And then in his 30s, when he was divorcing, it's in his document that he said that I don't have enough money for a cheeseburger. Right? Like, spent it all. Like $155 million came in and out of his hands.
Wow.
And he said, I don't have enough money for a cheeseburger. He said that his wife, becoming his ex-wife, gave him $61. So here we go. So he had nothing. But they set up a trust for him. And you can set them up anyway. So one of them matured at 25, he spent all that, and the other one matured at 50. $50 million was inside of that trust. $50
Do you
million.
know about it?
I don't know if he knew about it.
Oh.
I think it was a blind trust, so it probably wasn't.
Who set it up for him? The blind
It's like, I don't know specifically, like either his agents or his coach. It was someone on his team.
Oh man, that's.
Someone on his team set it up for him.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, I saw
they
the
saved him.
article. I saw the story on it about him.
Saved
'Cause
him.
they
Yeah,
was
they
showing-
saved him.
They show he gives a lot of money
He
out
does.
to. He gives a lot of money out to kids and
Yeah,
different organizations. You know what I'm saying?
it's true.
And then they showed his house and they showed his lifestyle and they showed that he had this trust in plan, which they said was the smartest thing that he ever could have
Oh, for
done
sure.
because they gave him a time to mature
Right.
mentally,
Right.
prepare for that money.
It's true. I think we would all agree. He's going to do better with that 50 million than he did with the 155 million.
Right.
So we could do this with our kids.
Mhm.
We can set it up. We can set it up any way we want. We can set it up by age.
Mhm.
We can set it up by marriage. But you got to have married. You got to be married for 5 years.
Mm.
You can set it up by military. You got to serve in the military for 4 years. You can set it up by college. You need to be in this. You have to get this degree.
I like that blind trust.
You can.
What's
I like that.
O'Neal did that.
Yep.
He said his children can't get X amount of dollars unless they got certain degrees.
Yep.
That it's required that they have degrees, educational degrees, before they get a certain amount of money.
It's true. I mean, anything. So you get to share your values. It's not about just the money. It's the values.
Right.
So you could say anything. If you're an entrepreneur, you could tell your kids, like, you got to be in these, like, 3 businesses. This is where our family specializes in. And then you got to put a business plan together that you have to present to the board. And the board is like dad, brother, cousin, whatever, however you set the board up.
Mm-hmm.
And then that board, here's the business plan and approves it. And that's the only way they can get the money.
Mm.
You can set up the trust any way that you imagine
Mhm.
to ensure that you pass on your values
Right.
to your kids.
And I'm hearing too, like life insurance and all that. You can put
Yep.
all that under.
You can make the beneficiary of your life insurance the trust.
Right.
And then the trust can have the rules on how the kids get the life insurance money. You sure can.
Mm.
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, there are so many ways. So his was a very simple one. It simply was wait till he's 50. And fingers crossed. And I know they also put his Reebok contract, because it's a lifetime Reebok contract, that was put in the trust, that activated, and he gets $800,000 a year from that.
Wow.
Who is they? Who set this up for him?
So they don't specifically say, but he has a team. So it was either his agent or his coach,
Probably agent.
or like just people that were around him that were recognizing he was not going to
Yeah,
make
somebody
it.
looked out for him.
Yeah.
Somebody look out for
What?
him.
Somebody praying for him.
What? Oh yeah, definitely.
A
No,
lot of with the Magic Johnson.
Definitely,
Magic
bro.
Johnson was a financial advisor to the NBA
Mhm.
and how to invest your money, because he was a smart man for his business wise and what to do with your money. So I know a lot of them I've seen go to Magic.
Yeah, man.
But he got paid.
Change his life. Now the side benefit during the divorce, his wife didn't get any. It's an irrevocable trust. Allen could not give you the money if the judge required him to.
Mm.
So an irrevocable trust allows your kids to be protected from divorce.
Mm.
So if you're like a Rothschilds, that's why they have trust, right? You divorce a Rothschild, you don't get no money.
Mm.
It's in the trust. The kid doesn't own it.
Wow.
The trust owns it.
Trust you.
Like you go to court and it says Rothschild Trust owns the real estate. I can't give you half the house.
Wow.
You just gotta move.
That's
Right.
Get up out of there.
And right, same with his. She can't get the $50 million. He didn't. He's like, I can't give it to her, Judge. I don't even have access to it. And so now he didn't have to give money to half in the divorce, and it was able to protect him until he got mature. And you could design it anyway, so it helps you with creditors and all that. helps you with taxes because you don't own it, as long as it's irrevocable. If it's revocable, you have enough control, so it would count as taxable for you.
Okay. Yeah, that was my other question about the taxes on the.
Yeah, so if it's irrevocable, the trust has its own tax brackets. So we have individual tax brackets, we have capital gains tax brackets, and you have trust tax brackets.
Okay.
So they're set up separately.
Mm.
All right, and so some of the things that are nice to add with your trust is a legacy letter. It just shares kind of your thought process. Hey, look, this is why I said y'all need to go to college. This is why I said y'all should get married. This is why I said y'all should go in the military. This is what we were thinking. This is what I learned, and I want you to learn. You can share all that in the legacy letters. I love family meetings, just to have honest conversations. You can take them all on a cruise if you want. Just give 1 hour to a family meeting, like those old timeshare ones where they're like, yeah, man, you get 3 days, 4 nights, but you gotta come to one presentation.
At 8 a.m.
That's it.
You can run your family like that. Hey, look, you can get the estate, but you gotta come to the family meeting once a year. We gotta talk about this stuff. I gotta share with you the wisdom that I've learned, so that way you don't mess it up.
That's good.
And so you can do that. And so the probates or the trusts are private. So all the information I pulled is from probate court. But remember, all probate court is freezing assets and retitling them. If it's in a trust, it's already titled because the trust tells me who gets what. So so basically what happens is you get your kids get the assets quicker. So in the normal process, if you had a big business that was very expensive but it had to pay these certain bills, it's frozen, so your kids can't pay the bills. They may have to sell a portion of that to, like Prince's kids, where they sold a portion to another company to get the liquid money today to pay the bills. But if you have the money separated in a trust, now it's just the fiduciary, or because someone had asked in the last group, they said, well, Dre, should the trustee be someone I trust, or does it have to be a certain professional? And I always say, hopefully they're both. But if it's someone you trust, like your brother or your sister, if you trust them, great. If it's a fiduciary, like a financial planner, a CPA, or your lawyer, that's fine too. Ideally, you want the person to be qualified. You don't want them to, the only qualification to be, I trust them. Well, they may try to do their best, but they still did it wrong. Right, and so you do want to sort of think about it that way, and then you can make the trust as specific or as general as you want. If it's your brother and you love him and you trust him, you can just say, my brother will give the kids the money when the time is right. And you can just write that, and that's fine. If you want to have a fiduciary with some set rules, and you can set it that way. They could be this age, this amount, this qualification, this type of stuff. You can go as specific or as general as you want. All right, any questions? Yes.
One thing real brief, I just want to
No,
share.
you're fine.
I don't mind sharing this with y'all, but this is what I'm gonna do. I don't know if y'all ever seen the movie Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Y'all, his father left him a holographic image of himself, talking to him through all the things. With all the innovation in AI technology and software, we're gonna be able to do some things that we can't even imagine in a couple of years. All of these family letters, the legacy letters, the trust, all these things, you put it in a document where they have to read. Think about how much kids read now, right? Okay, that might be difficult for them. One thing I'm going to do for my family is I'm going to use the AI technology to explain these things to them in my voice, with their facial expressions, articulate my values in a way that I know they'll comprehend.
They're probably doing it now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, might be.
I never require them to do that.
Right, and
I know I
you
tried
ain't
to-
getting this money until you go
Yeah,
get
until
the
you watch
boxes.
it and pass the test.
Right.
I'm like, pass the test that goes with it.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna lie, my oldest daughter, sometimes I'll send her a video and she'll be like, could you just give me the 90-second version? Because she's a TikToker. And I'll be like, chick, it's 5 minutes. And she's like, but can it be like a minute?
That's crazy.
You know, like, I can't show you how to make money in a minute, boo. I need at least 5.
Come on, man.
I'm just telling you, that's why you gotta write it in there.
And I sure wish I, because man, when my father died and left me the money, oh my God.
Blew it.
No, not just that. I started out.
You were chasing
right.
them girls with them.
No, man, girls were in that thing. I started out right. I bought one house, but I should have bought the whole block.
Oh, wow, yeah. Like Monopoly.
I should have bought from one corner. I only got the one in the middle. And I started out intentional, but then when I got that car, and man, that car made me famous.
Yeah.
And I didn't have nobody.
Yeah.
And I blew the rest.
She got that trust that AI got. You know what I'm
See?
saying?
Yeah, but I had
to watch this
I had not the wisdom
Right.
or anyone to,
Yeah.
and who I was supposed to, the Lord showed me. I never went and talked to them And that's why, boy, it's so important to obey the voice of the Lord.
Right.
Show you,
gonna have
because he showed me
face.
2 men to go to who was wise.
Right.
And I was supposed to go to them and have them teach me about money,
Right.
teach me about manhood, and so forth. But man, that was a lesson learned, boy.
When the guy closed, hey, but you got it and you shared it with us, so we're all better for it.
Yeah.
And now that I get a second chance, I'm getting another chance to do what I should have been again. I get a chance now. I feel like Moses when God gave him the first 10 commandments and he destroyed it, but then he got a chance to go back. He had to labor and do the
Right.
work, but he got another chance.
Mm-hmm.
With respect.
Yeah.
All right, so I know you was looking at me in my time. So I just wanted to show you a couple of examples. Like I said, there's literally a dozen ways to design a trust. But high level, there is a revocable trust, which is like a living trust. All that means is I set it up to where if I die, everything's taken care of. I put all my assets in the trust pays me the money every month.
Like that, yeah.
And then when I pass, it goes on to whoever the trust has already designed as the beneficiary. And so, while you're alive, it's all yours. You can take the stuff in it, you can take it out of it. You can write it into the name, you can take it out tomorrow. That's your choice. That's what makes it revocable. And then once you pass, it goes on to whoever it's supposed to go to, however it's designed. There are so many ways to design a trust, but this is an irrevocable trust. This is a family one. So this is James and Mary. So he put in, basically he would have paid the state taxes, but he split it out in a way that helps him not to do it. So he would have passed to your spouse without paying really anything because you're considered one person. He then was able to put a certain amount that 100% she couldn't control, so that way this went to the children, no matter what ended up happening. And then you have the family trust outside that's just completely separate for the children. And so you're able to set them up in a variety of different ways. But the idea is, and even when we talk about a spousal trust, right? So you would put everything in the trust, the spouse would receive the income, and then the kids would get the asset when she passes. You could set it up where, and people do it with all sorts of things. I mean, that's why Harvard has so much money. They have trusts to go to Harvard. So they would design the trust where maybe their kids get all the income, but when their kids die, Harvard gets the property.
Wow.
Because Harvard's going to outlive, if Harvard's going to outlive them, then Harvard's going to outlive them. And generally we agree Harvard's going to outlive them. And so there are ways that you can design it. Some people do that with their own nonprofit. Some people do that with churches. I mean, all sorts of things where, let's say every single week you would write the church whatever your check is. You could design your trust to write your check every week to the church, and then your kids get the asset afterwards. You can literally design it any way you can think of. And so there's a lot of ways to design it, and the idea is I don't want anyone to mess it up, but I want them to benefit from it. A trust allows them to benefit without messing it up. And so you can set it up where they have as much or as little control as possible. The only rules that we generally have with the trust is they can't be forever. So it can't be perpetuity. They changed that law. And so this is a dynasty trust, and you're in one of the states that allows them. So shout out to you for living in Florida. So you live in Florida. A dynasty trust is allowed to exist for 1,000 years.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
It's a dynasty.
It is a dynasty. For comparison purposes, the United States itself is only 250.
Right.
The United States itself is only 250. You can design a trust that can last for 1,000 years. There's maybe 10 states that allow it. Other states it's like 100. Some states it's 300. But Florida is one of the ones where it's 1,000. And so the trust can be set up in a way where it's literally each generation, you have generation skipping. It's a lot of stuff. You generally don't even want to try this unless you probably have at least 10 million. But I'm just simply showing you it's possible to set up a trust that takes care of everything, and it ensures that your kids don't mess anything up. Like you have one kid that gets married a bunch of times and divorced a bunch of times, they keep losing half every time. You can have a trust set up to where that doesn't happen. If you have the one kid that's kind of irresponsible, like Allen Iverson, there's rules that set up on what they're allowed to spend it on, if anything at all. You may just design the trust that says you can't even do it. Send the bill into the trust pays your bill, you knucklehead.
Wow.
You could do that.
That's cool.
And so you can set it up kind of anyway. And if there even the stories that you hear where the kid gets the house, they don't pay the taxes, and Uncle Sam takes the house, you can have the trust pay the taxes. You can really ensure that this stuff doesn't happen, at least until they get old enough, kind of like the Allen Iverson, until they get old enough, mature enough, however you want to design it, so that way you're going to be like, look, you got to go to college, but it can't be underwater basket weaving. Right, it's got to be a different degree. Right, you can start a business, but it can't be like a marijuana dispensary. Right, you can decide any of that stuff, however you want. Or, you know what I'm saying? All right. So then the last verse I have for y'all, Ecclesiastes 7:11 and 12. It says, "Wisdom is good with an inheritance, and profitable to those who see the sun," which is everybody. "For wisdom is defense, as money is a defense.
Wow.
But the excellence of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to those who have it." Right, so a lot of the times we talk about giving the money, but we don't give the wisdom, so they don't have enough defense. So you get the money, you get called up by a crook. Every time people win the lottery, it's public record, just like all this stuff I pull. They get called up by all sorts of people. But I need a surgery, I need a heart surgery. I don't know if you do or don't, but you feel bad. My family's in jail, we need a judge. You just feel bad. I'm related to you. I love you. You just, like all this stuff. And they were never prepared for it. But now they're on the front stage with $1 million and with a whole bunch of people who scam people for a profession, who are professionals at it. And you just woke up in the middle of the game. So legacy isn't just about the inheritance, it's about instruction, passing on our values, belief, and wisdom. It's just as important as passing on the assets. And that's how we got our family in the long term. All right, any final questions?
You have a YouTube video, man?
I do. I have a YouTube channel. You see it?
I was wondering, because I want to see it.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, it's called Wealthy Retirement
This is
Wisdom.
great, bro.
Yeah.
I got my cards on the table.
Okay, I need the card. That's all I need the card.
I got
Oh,
a
yeah.
question, man. It just
Pass
hit
them
me
out.
with
Oh, yeah.
brainstorm.
I'm good.
Okay,
Form.
so I see that.
And if I need help, I know who to call.
Is
Right.
is it possible
Oh,
that trust can be set up
Yeah.
for like
What do you say?
a community,
Wealthy retirement.
Yeah.
like a neighborhood,
Well, technically, if you think about it,
that the family that can preserve that community?
right. Well, think about it high level, right? So you got you, if you have 3 kids, and then your 3 kids have 3 kids, I mean, in a few generations, it is a community. Right? If you really just think about it, right? If everybody has kids, especially, and now imagine if your 3 kids, one of them had 2 kids and they got remarried and had 2 more kids. You know, like you'll be surprised at how big your community is going to be literally related to you. So the answer is yes. You can set up a trust that, I mean, that's technically what a college endowment is. It's like a trust for a whole university, because that's like 10,000 people. So you definitely can. It just requires a little bit more, right? So if you, yeah, a little bit more effort, a little bit more prep.
A little more effort, a little more prep.
But yeah, it's totally doable.
Wisdom, just the wisdom.
Yeah.
now I got it.
That's the key asset, is the wisdom.
Yes. The wisdom is the wishing for more wishes.
Right.
That's the way I feel. It's the wishing for more wishes.
Right.
And I say, ain't nobody can be rich. Like people, ain't nobody can be rich and do what Prince did, but never, or Prince or.
Yeah, but it's a whole bunch of them, right? Barry White, Heath
I know,
Ledger.
it's sad. It's sad.
It's a bunch of them.
It's sad.
Jackie Joyner Kersey, remember her?
Yeah.
She had a will, they couldn't find it. She didn't give it to nobody. They couldn't find it, and so long story short, her mom and her husband were arguing over who is supposed to have the house.
My mom and her husband.
Because the mom said, she told me I could live here without paying any rent ever again, and he was like, no, she didn't. And they was fighting in years for that.
Kobe Bryant had a good one.
Yeah. Kobe had a trust and whatever. They said it perfectly.
Yeah. Because his parents would have did some trifling stuff.
Yeah.
They appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all.
Great session.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.